Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to another great episode on the Strategic Project Leader. I am super excited this morning because it's a nice, although it's a snowy day here in Canada, in Calgary, but it's an awesome day because we're going to be talking about a great topic that I am super pumped up about, and I have got a wonderful guest in the house as well. So let me know exactly where you're joining us from. I am your host, Fola Alabi, and I'm all about helping you elevate as a leader, a project professional, even an entrepreneur. Leverage the superpowers in strategic leadership and project management. It has been transformational for me in my business, in my career, and in my life. And that's why a lot of people kind of call me the business life strata catalyst. But my superpowers, it's in that strategic focus to project management and strategic leadership skills. So let's get into it. So today I have a great leader. He has been pretty much transformation in the space of project management and the PMO. He has walked across several fields, and I love the fact that he also gives back to the community. So when we talk about supporting different veterans as well, you can actually count him in as the founder and president of the PMO Squad. And he's actually based in Phoenix. I'm like, gosh, I haven't been to Phoenix yet. I have to definitely come and do some stuff there. But we've had some, work we've done kind of together as well. He's the founder of the PMO Leaders, the global community. And when you talk about people at the forefront of like helping drive change, you can definitely count him. Can you please join me as I bring on stage a phenomenal? But before I do that, let me know exactly where you join us from. I can see I have got Edgar from Mexico. I've got Doreen as well. Please join me in the chat and let me be sure that you're ready to get this great leader on board. Let me tell you a little bit more about him. Okay. He actually also supports the industry, and he served as a judge for the Global PMO Awards. And he has actually participated across different roundtables, volunteered and sponsored and mentors, all the works. But when it comes to transformation and the project management office, you need to count him in. Can you please give him a round of applause as I bring on stage the one and only, he calls himself what? The PMO Joe. How are you doing today, good guy?
I am doing great, but I'm a little tired. Just back last night at midnight from Paris, where I was at the PMO Uncon, a conference hosted by the PMO Global Alliance. So a little jet lagged, but hopefully I will be able to handle today's discussion okay.
Fantastic. Although he's jet lagged, I can tell you that he's pumped with all the ideas, all the insight, all the strategies. And so he's going to be downloading them live on this podcast. So get your pens and papers because we're going to be getting right into it. Joe, first of all, I want to say thank you for taking time to do this. But after this, you need to go get some sleep, and probably take the wife out for more shopping. I know we did some in Paris. We need to do some more and get ready for Christmas. So awesome. Let's just kick this off pretty quickly. First off, I want people to get an insight. For those who are not aware of what the Project Management Office is actually about, what exactly is a PMO?
Yeah, so, we have, as a comparison, people who do accounting practices work in the accounting department. People
Yes.
who are HR resources work in the HR department. So for our profession, for project managers, we like to think of the PMO as the project management department, right? The part of an organization that provides a home for the project managers. It provides expertise to the organization. And depending on the type of PMO you have, it may be additional services beyond that. But to kind of get us grounded on the simplest of forms, just think it's the place for project management in the organization, right? It's the go-to department for project managers.
That's right. So first off, for those who are not project managers yet, so think about those superheroes who come in and get an idea, whatever the organization want to actually achieve, be it their strategy, they get a team together and then they create something, be it a transformation, it could be even an office move, it could be a home renovation, whatever it is, as long as it's got a start and an end, it's got resources in place, you're creating something unique. then pretty much you have been part of a project of some sort and there have been resources involved. And so the project management office is more like that governance space where they sit and they ensure that the project managers have got the right tools, they've got the right training, they've got the right support. They can definitely be set up for success. And we're going to be challenging that a little bit, Joe, because you know my perspective when it comes to the project management office. Because as you know, the title of today is the next move for project managers and the PMO. We want to look at something more people centric and how can we drive that for our organizations. And so when I think about project management offices, I know that foundationally, or when we think about it generally, it's all about like that governance where the PMO is set up and then they help with at times templates and they help with processes and procedures. But now that we're seeing a major shift when we think about the way organizations are changing, the customer needs are changing, projects are getting more complex, and getting a lot more tying back to organizational strategic goals and objectives. I see this particular discipline more as a strategy realization office because we need to be connected to that bigger picture. Because the way we also position is one piece that I believe is also kicking us in the butt. We want to be seen as a force where when strategy gets put together and designed, the PMs and the PMO are not just brought in to kind of just say, now just go in and deliver that and then walk away. How can we really integrate this whole picture and create a discipline where we have a permanent seat at a table and we're not just part of just executing, but we can also shape what gets picked in the first place, and then we can actually definitely create success at the end. Over to you, Joe.
Yeah, the challenge for that and where organizations have struggled with PMOs in the past is we can't just ask for that, right? We
Mm.
can't say, "Hey, I want to be included and own the strategy within the organization to make sure that we're able to execute." It's a journey, right? We have to be able to earn trust of the executives that we belong in those discussions. And we do, but we have to be able to show and document success along that journey. So we may start out to your point of with templates and governance and execution on projects, standardizing project delivery for the organization so they now have a consistent, repeatable process of how to make projects successful. When we've demonstrated some of those successes, now we start earning trust. We start building up that goodwill within the organization and we start demonstrating business value. Over time, the organization accepts the PMO and starts following our processes for things like resource management, portfolio management, program management. Our reach starts to extend beyond just projects. And as we do that, we're building more trust, we're building more goodwill within the organization. So the journey to get involved in strategy and driving strategic leadership discussions and outcomes is towards the end of that journey. We have to put in time first to document success, to be able to show good results. And once we've been able to do that, now we can get involved in strategy and value delivery. It's a long journey. So
Yeah.
you got to be prepared to put in the time and the effort and the work to get there. It's
Mhm.
not a fast solution. We can't just raise our hands and say, I want to do this. We have to be able to document for the organization why we should be included. And that's a tough challenge for PMO leaders.
I know, and when we think about that, and you raised the idea about if you're an accountant, you're in the finance department. The piece here is accountants kind of know when you actually hire an accountant, right? You don't need to tell them you need to enter a seat at the table to be part of these conversations when it comes to how a balance sheets actually say. Because when you're there, we need to understand the numbers. But what I
Mhm.
find is that project management has kind of been seen as just that temporary type role where it's just come in, execute on that, and kind of walk away. It's those FTEs that are kind of like you just kind of push them around. And even when we think about like benefit realization as well, you're like, okay, we've kind of done that. Who really owns it? There's all of this different conversation. And I know you've got very valid points as to before you end that trust to help drive strategy, it's going to take a lot of work. But as you know, a lot of PMOs get um put apart, you know, in like between 3 to 5 years, where, when there's meant to be like a head count, will reduce cost, it's always seen as a department that, okay, I think we can do without them for a little bit. And then, they those FTs are kind of taken away. So really, how can we start positioning, repositioning things? Because from the get-go, rather than it being like an option, to more be like a must-have. Because when we always see it as, let's start off with this just templates and stuff, I believe that there's a positioning thing that we have to start talking about. We have to start positioning project managers. Because I never call my PMs project managers anymore. I call them strategy drivers. Because really, at the end of the day, when a charter or business case gets written, these are kind of strategic objectives that we are trying to drive. They're absolutely critical. And without any of this, organizations cannot actually achieve whatever goals or objectives they have actually said. That's how serious it is. And I see another role around the marketing, around position, around, advocacy for this discipline, for us to, start to reshape the rhetoric around what we actually represent, so that it goes beyond just another, okay, let's try and keep earning trust now. Let's try and keep doing that. Because, we've been doing that for decades. But I think we
Yeah.
have to think about what's a different approach that we can also start bringing the C-suite leaders to the table to start saying, this is how critical project management and having that overall standardization will bring to the table. I don't know. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot, right, so to
Mm,
speak, as project managers because we focused on the project.
mm.
For 50 some years, PMI has been around, and we certify project managers and others in how to deliver a project. It's a one-off.
Yes.
We have to now become PMO leaders and strategic drivers in the organization to become salesmen, right? Sell the services, sell the value, sell the marketing, understand how the business operates to be able to tell the story of why we're valuable. Here's a way to also look at this. An organization may have been around for 100 years. And for those 100 years, they've been building the widgets that makes that company successful. That's the operations of the business.
Yes.
So accounting and HR and legal and marketing, those are all the operating functions. We're transformative. Every project, by definition, is a change. We're changing how the business operates. And often there's resistance to that change. Even if we're doing the change to benefit individuals who are project team members, we get pushback. We have to become change agents within the organization to understand and communicate to everyone how the changes we're doing provides value to the organization, and then be able to pitch and sell those ideas upward. We have to stop thinking about individual project delivery and start thinking about the collective value of all of
Yes.
the projects.
Mm.
Because you're right, when there's downturn and the organization has to make staffing cuts, they look to the parts of the organization that they feel are providing the least amount of value, and they
Yes.
go first. If we are not showing and demonstrating value to the leaders in the organization, it's an easy cut. See you later, PMO. We'll come back to you when we have better business results, right? Here's an example. Last year, the PMO squad did a global survey, and we asked PMO leaders, do you have a successful PMO? Yes or no? Their response back to us was only 43% yes. So ourselves, the PMO leaders who are running these organizations, are saying that we're not successful. So why would an executive want to keep around a part of an organization that doesn't even feel that itself is successful? We have to take control of our project delivery capabilities, our project portfolios, and turn that into a marketing pitch, turn that into a sales pitch, and start delivering services and values. Let me expand a little bit more. Right, I just mentioned that I was in Paris for the PMO Uncon from the PMO Global Alliance. They also handed out the awards for the best PMO leader, the best PMO influencer, and the best PMO in the world. And the PMO from Saudi Arabia won for the best PMO in the world. 2 years ago, the past 2 years, were also Middle Eastern PMOs who won. In the Middle East, they get this. There is a better commitment and stronger desire to utilize a PMO to deliver value to the organization, because the organization has to change and we have to drive that change for the organization. In Europe and in America, we're trailing the Middle East here. We need to look at the successful PMOs and learn from them, right? There are great, successful PMOs in the world, and all we have to do is study them and understand what they're doing better and bring those successes back to ourselves.
That's right. Because when you talk about like the Middle East and other parts of the world, because for instance, I have worked globally in Africa, I've worked in Europe as well, and in North America. And you see in Europe, especially even within like the financial service and all of that, they understand, project management as a key driver. And I really don't like even using the word project management office as well, because project kind of always seems temporary. Because we have like business transformation offices or strategy transformation offices, and within that, we have projects that come in that help, maybe it's IT transformations or if it's like, normal day to day, but they are seen as a team that creates some transformation for the business. And so that way there's an easier correlation to kind of see that, yes, this is a permanent team that needs to stay, right? Or like when we're seeing just as like, or PMO leaders, it's like, okay, you guys a project and then the project's actually going to be there, it's going to end. But how do we really start positioning? I love the fact that you said the marketing pieces. It's absolutely critical where we start demonstrating not just value, but also communicating that value in a way that the business definitely understands. And that brings me to my next question. What are the skills now that you think are absolutely critical? I know you spoke about marketing as a project manager who may be thinking now, I think I want to come now and move to the next level, which it could be being that governance person, coming in to like sit at that portfolio level. What skills will be critical for success for a project manager who wants to take that next leap now? Or maybe for a PMO manager who kind of feels that I'm really not sure what I'm doing. What do I need to sharpen my skills with right now so I can be better prepared for 2024?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to recognize that it's about people, and you
Yes.
have to have leadership skills. Delivering on a project requires leadership because you have a project team, right? That you have to help lead to be able to deliver the outcome. But a PMO is leadership of an organization, not just of an individual team. So leadership is hugely critical to being a successful PMO leader. Study the various different styles and techniques within leadership to make sure that you're broadening your skills there. And then secondly, business acumen, right? When times get tough, as we talked about, and they have to make business decisions within the organization, or even when times are good and they're looking where to make investments, you want to be able to understand and speak the language of business to your executives to help them understand why they should invest in the PMO. You need to be able to understand how the PMO is being utilized to deliver those results. So oftentimes we speak project language. We have to be translators in our own mind to be able to speak business language, because executives don't sit around and talk about projects. They talk about business outcomes. They talk about strategic delivery. They talk about transformation. And this is where we as PMO leaders have to talk like them, not the other way around. And if we don't, we're not demonstrating value. If we can't understand and communicate to executives how we're delivering business value in their terms, they don't listen. So, understanding how to lead a team and an organization is number one. And then number two, understand how to be able to communicate in business terms.
Business. Oh, I think that's the key word here. At the end of the day, it's about speaking the language of C-suite executives because we are trying to prepare project managers, PMO professionals, be you a coordinator, analyst, or you're probably there just doing governance, to be ready to move up vertically even faster. And I talk about creating strategic project leaders because that strategic piece is absolutely critical. Because on the tactical side, you can understand how to create a project plan, how to put a team together, how to coordinate, how to track resources. But at the end of the day, the tactical, how do you raise your head up and say, now when the rubber hits the road, Why are we truly doing this? What exactly are those key things that actually really driving this project in the first place? Because I'll give an example. I remember going off to do a post implementation review for a major client, and even just having the first conversation with some of the teams, I said I could already see that this project was going to already be a disaster because the key market drivers had already changed. But you guys didn't even bother to understand what the business case actually said in the first place and why you guys were still, hell bent on delivering this transformation. But there was never ever gonna be business value because the market had moved on so quickly. And so having those tough conversations to say, you know, chief financial officer, project sponsor, right now, even if we deliver this project on time, on budget and on schedule, still the business value may not even be delivered because it's not going to be valuable at that time. So I love the fact that Joe, you mentioned that understanding the business drive, that business acumen as to why we're even in business in the first place. What is that tying of your project back to strategic goals and objectives? And so you can even understand when things actually shifts. You don't want to go into and give an end of the month review and giving them, oh yeah, this is the 5 things on the risk register, this or whatever. But how do you tie that in to say, guess what? This is actually gonna impact how we actually borrow, because organizations, for instance, right, they have to get money to actually to fund your projects, especially when you're working on multi-million, multi-billion dollar projects as well. We've got investors, so how can you develop those strategic insight, those business acumen? That's the next skill for me. I believe strategic thinking is critical, Joe.
Yeah.
Strategic thinking is one piece that I know now. You said PMI has been here for decades now, and creating a shift beyond just the triple constraints, and now we're talking about more business acumen. But strategic thinking is one piece that it's so rare. How can project professionals develop that skill set?
Yeah, I shared a story. I was up in Calgary, right, where we got to meet in person, and I
Yes,
spoke at the PDC up there, your professional development day. And during my talk, I shared the story and the importance of purpose.
yes.
Um, the PMO squad worked with one of our clients that was struggling to deliver on a CRM project. So we went in and we asked the project team members what was the purpose of the project. And they came back with a collective answer that the technology was outdated and they needed to update the technology. So they were implementing a new CRM system. We then went to the executive team, project sponsors, and we asked them, why are you doing this CRM project? They told us the company hadn't been able to give a raise for a couple of years, and they needed to get into new markets to be able to increase their revenue, increase their profitability, and be able to give back to their employees. And the way that they were going to be able to do that was with a new CRM system that gave them new capabilities. There was a complete disconnect between what the project team thought the value of the project was versus the sponsors and the executive team. As project team members, it's not okay for us just to listen and receive. We have to ask questions and probe our sponsors to understand what is the real purpose of the project. Why
Mm,
are we doing this? And again, speak in their terms and understand what they're sharing with us. When we do that and when we drive that forward, we're able to get on the same page as our leaders, and therefore we're delivering business value. So for me, the struggle right now is too often project managers get assigned a project. We don't probe deep into the business outcomes and the reasons, the purpose of why we're actually doing that project. And therefore, we miss out on the opportunity to be able to get face time with executives, that we can ask them questions that show us that the work we're doing is important. And we don't be able to, we're missing out on the opportunity to be able to deliver an outcome with a project team that we can then also build relationship inside the business. Right? I'll use myself as an example. I don't think I was the best project manager ever. I don't think I was the best at building schedules. I don't think I was the best at doing any of the specific items that I did when I was a project manager. But I was always inquisitive. I always wanted to know why. I always was looking for what's the business outcome and the value that we were trying to get from doing the project. So by me consistently going forward and trying to go forward to get those questions answered, I then dug deep, and people within the organization saw me as somebody that wanted more. They saw that I was looking for a business outcome and not just delivering on the work that got assigned to me, but trying to deliver for something that would provide value back to the business.
I love that you just said that you pretty much were all about pushing the envelope a little bit, being inquisitive. And I think I
Yeah,
had that as well. I remember conversations, this was like at least 10 years ago at a minimum, when I was at the New York Stock Exchange. And I remember sitting with our senior vice president and asked questions. I'm like, how come we're doing this major safety backbone transformation? I'm like, how does this tie in to how it supports our global setup? But just wanting to know more, wanting to understand the bigger what lies behind this project. Why are you really doing
right.
this? And this is the being very curious is a mindset that every project, even not even a project professional, I think everyone as a professional needs to have that, especially if you're one who wants to grow, if you're one who, who definitely feels that I want to move up vertically in the organization, I want to do that really quick, you need to be able to dig deeper beyond the surface to pretty much uncover the reason behind it. Book some coffees with your, line manager. Try and get some time and understand, why are we even in business? Who are the competition? How does this affect, us in the longer term? What is the organization planning for 2024, for instance? If I challenge you, do you already understand the strategic direction of your organization beyond your project? Are you guys, thinking about, especially with the oil and gas, we're heavy here in Canada and in Alberta, right? A lot of them, what they're trying to go into like renewable and clean energy. Some, organizations are already trying to like even break off the oil path, to get into the renewable. Just all about how they reposition. You need to understand how does this affect your role and what exactly are the skills you need to start thinking about so you can continue realign so you can consistently be valuable. That's another piece because people feel I've gone right PMP. And so, yes, I can manage a project. But beyond that, the PMP will not be what will get you to the next that level. So what you have now can just sustain you for now, but it's not going to push you to the next level. So what are
Right.
the skills here? Because I think that's important because we're talking about the next move for project managers and the PMO. And we know we're talking about the people and the people skill. What else do they need to start thinking about today that can help them create a better 2024? So by the time we're in December, hopefully December 10th or something, 2024, we can say, I hope you've done 1, 2, 3, 4. You added that skill set, and let's see what the outcome is. So what do you think those things are as well, Joe?
First and foremost for me is get a mentor, right?
Oh,
Uh, if you're running a project that has an executive sponsor, hopefully you are, ask that sponsor if they would mentor you aside from the project that you're working on to say, can we go grab lunch maybe once a month where I can just pick your brain and talk about the business,
mm,
where I can learn from the experiences that you've had? We're delivering projects, not managing projects. We
mm,
have to think about delivery. We have to think about outcomes and not think about managing. It doesn't mean we don't do the activities of managing, right? A risk log, yes. A schedule, yes. A budget, yes. Those are the management aspects. But we use those as tools to deliver business outcomes. So if you can go get a mentor, and listen, I know that that sounds maybe harder than you think, but when I was a young project manager, I did it. I went and asked executive sponsors, can you be my mentor for the next 6 months? Executives love that. They want to be able to give back and share with people in the organization. It gives you that firsthand one on one connection with all of the different leaders of your organization that can give you some tips and tricks to improve your career and your performance. So that would be number one. Number two, we live in the fastest technology change of our time, and it's only increasing. I haven't quite bought into the AI and project management thing yet, but I know it's coming. It may not be here today, but it's starting to get to us. All right.
no, it's here already. Oh
I
my
know it's here, but it's going to be here even more. It's going
Yes,
to penetrate the depths of our profession over the next several years.
that's right.
Don't wait for those solutions to come and you're trying to play catch up with your peers.
Hmm.
Be a leader, right? Take the steps necessary to be able to invest in your own future and get the training that you need on the latest technologies. You don't have to know everything, but by utilizing LinkedIn Learning, by utilizing online courses, there is availability to us on all of the current trends in our technology within our industry. You don't have to be an expert at it right now, but you certainly should understand what's coming. And where it makes sense, if perhaps your worst skill right now as a project manager is capturing meeting minutes and sharing with the team, there's AI to be able to capture meeting minutes and distribute to your team that you no longer have to do that work. Take advantage of that opportunity from what technology can give to us. And the last thing that I would say is to get involved in the industry so that you're not just localized at your company. Whether
Mhm.
it's a PMI chapter, whether it's the PMO Leader Global Community, whether it's PMO Global Alliance, wherever you're located, there's probably a group or a community of project professionals who all are trying to get better and learn from one another. Right? I was in Paris. There were 125 people from probably 70 different countries there. I may have the grayest beard there. I may have great, fantastic experience, but I was learning from people from the country of Georgia and France and Italy and Lithuania and Poland and the UK and Saudi Arabia, UAE, Spain, El Salvador. They were from all over the world, but we were all together in a single community. We all stepped forward to participate into an event together. We're all better because of that. So, having the courage to go seek out mentorship, having the courage to go join communities of people within our industry, and having the courage to go out and understand what technology is coming our way, that quadrant of four things, the courage in those three together, is going to position you well for growth in your career so that you can start delivering strategic outcomes and not just manage projects. Managing projects isn't going to get you forward in your career. It's going to keep you okay. It's going to be a solid career if that's what you're choosing. But if you're like me and you want to accelerate and grow and become something bigger than where you're currently at, then you have to surround yourself with people who've been successful and have accelerated and gotten to those higher roles. That's how you join communities or why you join communities and get mentorship.
That's awesome. Before we get to Project Lifestyle, I just want you to know, just make sure you have your comments in your questions in the comments so you can actually get them answered live when we get to the hot seat. But this has been fantastic so far. This is just a perfect time for Project Lifestyle. Goodness, I had something planned. I'm like, what am I going to talk about? But now when I think about it now, I even have something different to share. When I think about the next move for the project managers, Joe has actually shared a lot of insights. I think about what exactly should be the next move overall for us when we think about our life as a whole. We think about the skills that we need as professionals, and we say we need to position strategically, we need to build community, we need to be able to get mentors and support. And as you know, we only have one life. Although we talk about our career and we talk about how we accelerate, because we spend pretty much a lot of time at work, over 8 to 9 hours. That's pretty much the most productive time of the day in the office. We want to make the most out of it. And also, I think so. How can we really influence people? And so I thought about now, how can we really to get it mentors? How can we get other people to really want to come to become part of our tribe? I think that would be a good one. So, what tips can I share with you today that would help you go off and say, I want to get a mentor. I want to build a community. I want to be able to get the right people around me. What can I do? Number one, I want to show genuine interest. Joe mentioned that he wants to accelerate his career. He wants to be able to move faster. And so he's built communities, he's been part of those things. But it also takes you being genuine in what you actually genuine. So you need to express genuine interest with your insights, share some things online. help other people, because it's good to say I want to get mentors, but who are you also going to mentor as a person? Not just you being a mentee as well, but being able to give where you are right now. Number two for me is about delivering outstanding performance. Because for you to be prepared for the next level, you need to show that where you're at the moment, you're already great at where you are and you're ready for the next level. And so you need to already show people around you that you are comfortable, you can deliver results, and you are the one who is obviously ready to actually share and be prepared for the next. And so, number one, remember about showing genuine interest, where you can actually be approachable. You can actually, people can see the fact that you are there to give, and people will also be ready to give and pour into you as well. So number two is deliver outstanding performance. And number three, then is about seeking guidance proactively. Never wait for when you're looking for that opportunity before you say, okay, now it's time for me to go apply for that job. No, now it's time for me to go network with Joe and say, now I want that role. Before the need arises, how are you creating, how are you adding value, and how are you building the networks that you have today? Ask for input, seek advice, but do not do that because you want to get. Just be someone who wants to learn, who wants to give back, and let people see the value that you have to offer. So that way, you're not just seen as just a taker. People see that you've got so much to also give as well. Because believe it or not, there's so much you have to give. I met one of my mentees who said, "Because I'm just a new grad, I just started my role just a couple of years ago. I really have nothing to share." I'm like, no, everyone has got unique value at this. The skill that you have, you just need to uncover that will add value even to the vice president. It doesn't mean that you need to have all the experience, but it could be the fact that you've got great attention to detail. There's a way you see things that other people don't actually see it. But the key here is uncovering the value that you bring to the table. And so when you seek to get help, people already see that, yes, there's also someone that can actually definitely learn from the other party. So one is show genuine interest, to deliver outstanding performance. Number three is about seeking guidance proactively. But overall, one piece is about communication. When you communicate, the listening skill is one that I have had to just sit back and say, Fola, I want to listen even more. I remember reading a book where they say you have to be the last to speak. Where you want to say, as I go into 2024, I want to be able to be the sponge. I want to absorb as much as possible. I want to go into spaces where I can listen, but I cannot just listen because I want to speak, though, but I want to listen because I want to understand. I want to get the great intention around why we are doing what we're doing. I want to learn more. As you build those coffee chats with the senior leaders, you want to keep writing stuff, learn more, and this way you can actually build trust. You can actually become a valuable team member, and you can become the one that not just becomes outstanding at work, but you can also create that same idea as well at home. So Joe, what are your thoughts as well towards that? How can we just take it a step further, especially when we need to build networks and relationships? Because a lot of people really struggle with this, and they say, I think I've got this, but I really don't know how to approach Joe. I know I want him to become my mentor, but I'm like, how do I go about this? How can they really position so that they can win and get these leaders to really support them through their journey?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for most people is the first step, right? Is just asking. I remember going back 6 years ago. I started my podcast, Project Management Office Hours, and I said, who would be like at that time my number one guest that I would want to have on that would show that I'm valuable, that like the industry respects the fact that I'm doing a show. And it was Dr. Harold Kersner. And I said, I know he's not going to be a guest on my show, but I'm going to shoot him a LinkedIn message and we'll see what he says.
Mm,
Because the answer was no if I don't ask. And maybe if I do ask, it'll still be no, but I don't know until I ask.
exactly, yes.
So it took a lot of courage for me to be able to put together a LinkedIn message, send it over to Dr. Kersner. And he said, of course, Joe, I would love to be a guest on your show. I didn't know what the answer was going to be. I had to have that courage to take that first step.
Mm,
Everything that you just talked about was spot on. I totally agree with everything you had said. for everybody out there who's listening now or listening in the future when you ultimately get to this session, everything that you want to do can only happen if you take the effort to make it happen.
Yes.
And the hardest thing to make it happen is the first step, whether that's contacting somebody, whether that's taking on a new opportunity, applying for a position, looking for a different opportunity at a different company, becoming part of a community, whatever it may be. It's okay to get no, because unless you ask, you've got the no anyway. So this is your opportunity to be able to say, let me shoot a message. Let me see what happens. Let me join a community, see if he'll accept me. Let me ask an executive if they can go to lunch with me. Let me ask my boss if I can moderate or be a part of a project that I wasn't assigned to. All of those things that are just outside your reach today, reach for them. See what happens. Take a chance on yourself and have the courage to be able to go see if you can make those things happen.
Take a chance on yourself. I think that's a very, very critical message because at the end of the day, as Joe actually said, it's always a no until you actually try. I think that's going to be like a major takeaway. Even for me, like I've had to step out of my comfort zone. I think that's another thing, stepping out of your comfort zone and just saying, what if? What
Yeah.
if I apply for that PMO director role? What if I, have a conversation with that VP and say, I've thought about this and I want to become, the person that actually helps you shape strategy because I've done all of these steps in the past. What if they say yes? And that's going to be that main challenge. And we're going to be here to support you. You've got so much resources to help you actually propel you to create that outcome you've always craved for. Perfect timing. The hot seat. Joe, are you ready?
I'm ready. Bring it on.
We should bring it on. So questions, we had some already start question. The number one I have here is why is each PMO different from another in methods of working?
Yeah, this is a great question. The reality is every organization is different. And since the organization's different, the type of PMO that they're going to ask of you to provide for them is going to be different, right? I would say every HR department's different. Every accounting department's different. Every finance department, every legal department, every department within every company is different. But there are some commonalities across them, right? How do we deliver projects? How do we build a portfolio? How do we utilize our technology? So I don't always focus on when the PMO squad is working with our clients, we don't try to build the same PMO over and over again from every PMO we're working with. What we want to be able to understand is what type of PMO does your organization need? What services do they want you to be able to deliver? And then how can you measure your performance on those services and have a continuous improvement built in? So to me, the commonality is understanding your purpose. How do we measure and how do we optimize? They're going to be unique because the challenges every organization faces. How could a PMO in a healthcare organization be the same as a PMO in a manufacturing organization to be the same as a PMO in a educational organization? So it's okay to have different techniques, different styles, different structures, as long as you're meeting the needs of your organization. So for me, it's okay to be different. I think it's expected to be a little different.
100%, because at the end of the day, we are there to deliver value. And so you need to assess and understand what is the space within the organization that we actually working with. For instance, I'm going to be delivering a keynote at the end of year summit as well for a clinical organization. They do their pharmaceutical, and they have to work specifically when it comes to like drug formation and stuff. And so the way they deliver projects has to be totally different because their project has to meet the needs of humans. They're delivering, they're looking at drugs, the way it's actually going to be tested. We're going to look at a little bit of agility there, but there are like steps and checks that they have to do that's different because lives are definitely involved. We're not talking about widgets or computer systems and say, oh yes, we can just turn it on and off. But now these are medications that are going to be going into like people's system. And so the way the PMs have to project manage the process has to be different. And so the group that does governance, it's not a case of I think that risk is just low on the radar. No, no, no. We have to be sure that the implications have been, been reviewed, it's been tested. We understand the ramifications. And so being able to really understand the needs of the business, the impact it will be, the cost of what it will actually be as well. It helps you work backwards and create solutions, right? That will be absolutely beneficial to the organization you're definitely going to be working with as well. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that.
I feel like I'm on a game show. This is great.
Oh, yes, we have to make it fun because I say project management is beyond just another methodology that you can apply it in life, at work, everything. It's a lifestyle for me, right? And so I use it in different ways and I make it fun. Even my kids leverage that as well. Okay, next question. This is pretty easy. Oh gosh. So what has been your major challenge through your career and how have you been able to like move up pretty quickly and achieve great success?
Yeah, I think the major challenge for me at first, early in my career, was understanding um, business.
Mm.
Right? I didn't know I was a project manager. I didn't even know project management existed as a career. And one day, my boss asked me how a project was going, and I said, "What's a project? I don't even know what you're talking about, Dennis." So early on, as I figured that out and I understood and I became certified and I became a practitioner and I was delivering, I thought it was okay to just deliver projects. It wasn't till we spent a lot of time talking about mentors today and as maybe more about strategy, but I think they're connected because those mentors helped me learn about strategy. They helped me learn about the outcomes of the project was more important than maybe was the risk log completely up to date. Was the checklist being done the way it needed to be? So for me, it was really important to understand that transition and to be able to change the way I delivered because I was kind of stagnant. I wasn't getting where I wanted to be. But when I understood the value that I could have to my own career, when I started thinking like a leader as opposed to a project manager, I was able to overcome that. And then I started attending sessions with other leaders and participating in executive discussions. And once you do that and become a valuable resource as part of that circle of other leaders, you're on the fast track. And it's a matter of getting your own training and your own education to align with the expectations of those positions. But it took a long time for me to understand that it wasn't about the technical skills of our industry. It was more about the business skills, whether the power skills, the soft skills, whatever people call them these days. For me, they were career transformative. When I understood how to talk in a business language and how to translate that back down to my project team and take project results and translate that up to leaders in business language, that was the shift that moved everything forward. So I can't stress to everybody out there, use your project expertise to understand how to work with your project delivery techniques, but you have to understand the value of being able to communicate at a business level with leaders across the enterprise to be able to accelerate your career forward.
Being able to communicate value, I think that's absolutely critical. Joe, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. Despite the fact that you had, your trip, you were away in Paris, you still took time to definitely share your experience and your wealth of, even your challenges as well and how you've definitely all had to overcome it. I want to say a massive thank you. It's been a long day. We had a great event. Even last night, we finished about 1 a.m. I had to be here as well to make sure this was actually streamed live. I want to say thank you. But I want people to know how can they really connect with you? How can they get to know more about your community and what you actually do?
Yeah, obviously, to connect with me out on LinkedIn, you can just search PMO Joe, right? I'm the only PMO Joe out there. That's the easiest way.
The only PMO Joe. You had that.
The only one. I'd also suggest going out to the PMO Leader. PMOs.com. It's a global community of project professionals working together to be able to improve our performance in the world. People from all over the world, and it's free to join. There's no cost associated with any of the stuff that we put on. And we have a brand new mentoring program that is released and available in that community, available to community members, sponsored by the PMO Squad and Meister Plan. So great to have two great companies sponsoring that. And then lastly, check out the PMO Squad, right? We help organizations deliver projects better. And we'd love to be able to hear from you and see how we can help you and your organization as well.
100%. You heard that. All things PMO support, just contact PMO Joe. I want to say a massive thank you. But with everything that you've actually heard, it always is all about taking action. If you haven't done, anything in the past, that's okay. But going forward, what steps are you going to be taking to create the outcome that you definitely want, the life you've always craved? It's about you. I say you are your life's project manager, and you are the most important project you can ever work on. For you to get the outcome, for you to take the next, to make the next move and become that project professional or that business leader, it's all about you. But I want to say, I want to challenge, I want to thank Dorian, I want to thank Carla, David. I have so many people. We had the UK in the house, we had Egypt, we had London, we had Toronto, we had Cairo. I just want to say I can already name everyone. I can see you all in the chat. Thank you so much for being here today. But taking action is the number one key. And I want to challenge you because we've been talking about business. I remember learning something in business school 15 years ago. And when I teach it to project professionals, like, what exactly is this? There's something about the Porter's five forces. When you're taking the next executive to a coffee chat, ask these questions and say, I think I know that we're in business, but I never know. So what are the threats of new entrants? What exactly are, the bargaining parts of our buyers, the bargaining parts of suppliers, the threats of substitutes, and also the competitive rivalry in the industry. I think I remember that framework. It's like 5 steps. It's a business thing. It's different from projects. Challenge it a little bit and say, I know that we have supply chain, we buy stuff. If you're within IT, well, how does this affect us? How does it affect my project? Or maybe there's another company that may be positioned to maybe like try to push us out of the market. But start thinking about the business beyond the project and start seeing things change as well for you and everyone around you as well. I want to challenge you. I want to say thank you to everyone who actually joined. I want to say thank you to Joe. It's been a great pleasure. But we know that next year we're going to see more of you. It's going to be a little more tighter. It's definitely been awesome. I'm super tired. I know that you are, but you've given us so much energy. Oh goodness. We're gonna push this forward and let's keep the conversation going. You can contact me on follow.alibi.com and remember PMO Joe as well on LinkedIn as well as across the whole of social media platform. Take care and have yourself. Any final word before I go? I know, Joe, I'm gonna give you the final word. The final word? What's your final word for us to remember?
I think just thank you, Fola, for having me. And final word is courage, right? It ties into everything. You own your career. Have the courage to make it be what you want it to be.
Fantastic. Jeff Bezos says he wants to put a thing in the universe. Together, we can make a positive dent in the universe because it is possible. I trust you're going to do something. Let me know in the comments what action you're going to be taking and make sure you share with someone. Maybe it might even be your boss that needs to hear this or your colleague. And let us make sure we create a community that's definitely healthy and we can create the outcomes that we've always wanted as well. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and have yourself a wonderful, wonderful weekend and happy holidays as well.
Bye, everyone.